directly, right exactly where we need to be.
Hell yeah.
Welcome back, listeners. That is Heather Cunningham. I am Miranda Linsky, and we are here for our, do I dare say it already, Heather, final Scorpio episode
I
of the
know. Can you
season.
believe it? Yeah.
We are blasting through these like a
Mm.
phoenix from the ashes. We are rising out of here, on out of here, and into.
Sagittarius.
That's right. I almost said Capricorn. I was trying to get ahead of
Not
myself.
yet,
I'm ready for
Miranda.
Christmas.
Not
I
yet.
know. I'm just so ready for Christmas. I'm just so excited.
Yeah, no, I am too. I actually like Capricorn season, even though it
I mean, it's
goes
the least they
against
can do, right?
everything.
It's the least Earth
Yeah.
can do by having the. It is such an Earth holiday too.
It's so you gotta fly home and you gotta, I mean, not that flying home and visiting your family's bad, but it's, yeah, it's, there's a very obligatory.
It's Capricorn in the way all the Capricorns have been planning for it since Scorpio season, since right now.
Yeah.
So they're
I
ahead of
mean,
it.
it is
But it's their
capitalism.
season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just is.
You can't say capitalism without Capricorn.
Right.
But capitalism really puts the cap at Capricorn.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Folks, how we doing? Scorpio? Oh my God. We just had as we're recording this, we just had the the new moon in Scorpio. Right. Scorpio new moon.
Yes.
Kind of a
Literally just had it.
We're still in that energy, baby.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge transformative energy. We've braced ourselves. You know what I was thinking about, Heather? Sorry. As I'm excited to share this with you, actually.
Oh yeah, tell me.
Something I was thinking about was, it's interesting how ever since you told me about how Scorpio also has the energy, even for a water sign, it has the energy of a phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
There's very much a burn it down. It's why they embrace that Scorpio dark side, right? Is like the ability to look inward, see what needs to be burnt down, understanding the bigger picture of why we need to burn it down, and like a phoenix rise and be reborn, right? A
Yes.
beauty in that. And then it's followed by Sagittarius,
Mm-hmm.
which is like the, what is the official, the fire bearer?
It's the centaur, so it's a half horse, half man with a bow and arrow.
That's like on fire, right? Or something, or just a bow and arrow?
I don't know. Maybe depending on the whatever myth you're reading, or I don't know. But it is like, where do you want to point your arrow? And it is a fire sign, so I feel like it is kind of like, where do you want to direct your fire?
It's interesting symbolically that we go in from this, like, or again, we've talked about this, how it's like the more I pay attention to the astrological calendar and sort of how these signs bleed into each other, how the energies match up, it's always so interesting we always go into a new element, right? Like we're in water, we're about to enter fire, and yet somehow there's I can't tell if I'm just making it up because I want to, but I'm getting to the point where I almost kind of can't unsee relations between neighboring signs.
Yeah.
Which is like a beautiful idea, which I do think is the point. So I don't think I'm
no,
like,
it is. No, absolutely.
I don't think that's the super profounding, but it's a beautiful idea that like Scorpio is the burning down, and then we enter fire and we point our arrow, right? Like, and then Capricorn takes over, and we just ride that arrow. And then after we're done riding the arrow, we go into the Aquarius and we get everyone else in all their arrows.
Yeah, we need to. Yeah.
And then we enter Pisces and we blow up the establishment with our arrow. Okay. But I don't know. It is. And then I was thinking about this too, where we've talked about this with Aquarius and Pisces, for example, like the beauty that Aquarius is that's what it is. I called Sagittarius the fire bearer because I was thinking of water bearer.
It makes sense to me. I mean,
that's so funny. I called it fire bearer in my head because the Aquarius is the water bearer, then that feeds into Pisces. And then again, like we talked, the interpersonal, the transpersonal, and
Yeah, the personal, interpersonal, and transpersonal.
Yes. I just find it, and then no wonder the neighboring signs have these sort of themes that flow or sort of
Mm-hmm.
slide into each other, usually always sort of connected to what type of like Jesus, what am I trying to say?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Based on what type of category they are in terms of, yes,
Yes,
interpersonal,
absolutely.
blah blah
And
blah blah blah.
yeah, and Sagittarius is one of the most like philosophical signs of the zodiac. So I think it's
Mm.
cool that after we finish all the relationship signs or the interpersonal signs, we are able to look beyond and think about like, well, what is the meaning of life? But
That's a big one.
also, right. But then I think it's super cool. I've been thinking a lot about the fact that Scorpio, more than any other sign, is kind of known for being a little bit, cynical, for lack of a better word, or just like very much aware of life's darkness and willing to go there. And, it's not a bad thing. But Sagittarius, on the other hand, is the most optimistic sign of the zodiac. So I think it's cool that we go from the sign that is the darkest to the sign that is the most bright and optimistic and just sees the highest heights.
Well, it's not to dog on Scorpio, but it is kind of a funny idea that as those energies, it's almost like because we just entered the darkness, Sagittarius is like a rewarding energy.
Yeah, no,
Period.
I see it that way. Yeah.
That's like, no matter like that a coincidence that the darkest and the brightest sign are aligned the way they are, and it's not that we go from Sagittarius into Scorpio, for example. Like, it's not that energy. It's it's that the darkest into the brightest, not the brightest into the darkest. That's really, you can't make this shit up. And
Mm-hmm.
then, yeah, same with, like, for example, Aquarius going into this community based idea, and then this like Pisces internalizing of, yeah, I don't know, actually, never mind. I'm like,
Wait, you were saying from
Aquarius into Pisces is a little backwards. I feel like the gods got it wrong there. Just kidding. No, because we've talked about this, how Pisces is, it's sort of like, of course we have to end on death. Kind of like Pisces can, I don't think it's like Scorpio in the way that it's darkness, but again, the way it's the end aligns with the beginning sign, which again we end on a water, which is all about sort of the death, or the
yeah.
where I think like Scorpio is like, we have to embrace the death, we have to let things die. By the time we reach around to Pisces, it's like, now we welcome death, we're in the final form. Now
It's
it's
like
like
communal
we,
death. Yeah.
right, it's death for the bigger, I don't know. It's
Mm-hmm.
interesting. And then Aries being the rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, again, as a sign, it's own rebirth too. I love it. And it's so
Mm-hmm.
fun paying attention to that pattern. And
Yeah.
I think it's such a big reason why I personally, and this is what I try to tell people, and why they should all be paying attention to the stars, the signs, the astrology as a whole, because when you learn that ebbs and flows, not, I don't even want to put it that way. Energies are different when you just understand that, oh, that a dark energy is inevitable, or a darker, heavier energy is just simply inevitable. Like, we have a calendar. There's a pattern to this. Like, we're
Right.
gonna, like, we just naturally, it's just like the elements. We're like, it's the science behind it, if you will. We're in fire now, but we're gonna go back into water in the future. It's just the pattern. And I
Yeah.
think once you're just like aware of the clock, essentially aware of the calendar, aware of the pattern of it all, you're way less, all due
Stressed
respect,
out.
right? All due respect to Casey Musgraves, but like, you're just sort of able to. It's more of like, oh yeah, the ebbs and flows are that's just a part of it. That's
Mm-hmm.
simply inevitable, and there's such a more of like acceptance of like having fun writing that, instead of looking at it as like, when am I going to be out of this again? And
Mm-hmm.
to like, it's a beautiful thing to know for when you're in low times, I think, if anything,
Yeah.
instead of dreading the high. Don't waste your energy on the low. It's inevitable. Just remember, when you're in the low, it just means a high's on the way.
Mm-hmm.
It is a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
You're allowed to embrace that, and you're allowed to leave room for both. There's
Yes.
and Scorpio, I think, teaches us so much about the beauty in death. so to speak.
Yeah. You
There
put
is so
that
much
so
beauty
well.
in
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta shut the fuck up. I gotta
Yeah.
get out of here.
And I'm really inspired by one of the astrologers I listen to is always describing Scorpio as like something has to die, you know, that's life. Something has to leave. But Scorpio is, you know, okay with that and very curious about what will rise into the light, you know, through those crevices, through it always leaves openings for newness,
Mm-hmm.
new life.
Yeah.
Um,
I think about this with the season fall a lot too.
yeah.
That there's so much beauty in it. It's like it's one of the perks of when it starts getting colder because there almost is a little sadness to when it gets colder in New York, only because it is like, ooh, it's a little chilly right now, but we
Yeah.
really know that's gonna get a little cold and it's gonna get a little dark and the skies are like the fall still has so many sunny days in the middle of death. Like I try to look at it that way all the time about death. Like fall is my favorite season. It's gorgeous. It's one of my favorite times to be outside. I finally stopped sweating. Being outside is just purely enjoyable because
Yeah.
it's crispy, but it's not, one way or the
Yeah.
other. But then the beauty of it all, the death of the leaves is
Mm-hmm.
gorgeous. It's
Mm-hmm.
like and then we enter Sag and it's like, thank God they put Sag in the middle of the darkest winter. Thank God that
Yeah.
God's placed it that way so that we can I think that's your fire in winter. We're in Sag season.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
That's
things
why
are
we're in
dying,
it.
but the leaves are orange.
Yeah. And so we know the fire's on the way. And when it's real cold, just remember it's still fun because it's Sag.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Looking I visualize that a lot. In terms
Yeah.
of like and then the tree knows the leaves are coming back.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
see the
totally.
tree
Totally.
crying all
Absolutely.
winter.
Yeah.
She's a little bummed
Yeah.
out. She doesn't look her best, but like it's just it's a stage.
No, I
The
love
leaves
that.
in the spring. Even nature knows there's ebbs and flows, and I think nature is very giving into doesn't try to
Process.
resist. Yeah,
Yeah.
nature just
Totally.
is, baby. I gotta shut the fuck.
No, no, I love
Where am
this.
I? What am I doing? Go ahead, Heather. Go ahead,
I was
please. God, take the mic.
I have said this before and I know that it's like easier said than done if you don't understand how to read a chart, but like I can't say enough how fun it is to like in addition to thinking about, you know, just the zodiac season and the symbolism of traveling through the signs, when you know where the sun is traveling in your own chart and what houses it's in, like I feel that so much this time of year. Like the sun was just in the third house of Gemini and the immediate environment and like knowledge and learning, and I've been on this like major self-help kick. Like anytime I have a free second, I like want to turn on a podcast and like learn something. And then now it's going into my fourth house, which is like way more about emotions and your home, and it's Cancer and it's family and all that stuff. And I'm like, all right, getting ready to be done with work, have a lot of private time. Oh, I also started a class while the sun was going through the third house. I don't know,
Ugh,
it just like adds a whole other layer.
I agree, and it's just I even this year, this past year, as we know, Heather, I'll have a little selfish moment. Very rare of me. But
It is.
I knew it was my Saturn return, this like the start of it. I think I embrace this as like, okay, everything I've been through past here was the burning down or the learning of the lessons, and now from this point forward, things are just a little more clear. And then had maybe one of the worst birthdays ever, and like just got thrown a curveball of just sort of a lot of weird life hits out of nowhere, and it felt really like, okay, I'm enough. Like
Yeah.
it's my birthday, and also just this what and then it was so funny when you reminded me, because as of recently there's been a lot of perspective, a lot of really great things that have come out of a really rough like start to my 29th year.
Yeah.
Personally, there's been a lot of really like I'm just now in a place where it's like, oh, I get to reap the fun parts, or these are the
Uh-huh.
benefits I get to reap now,
Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
grateful for so much that did happen at that time. And then you reminded me about, what is it that was direct and indirect?
Saturn.
Sorry.
No,
Yes,
and it's our Saturn
Saturn, her
return,
gosh
and
darn self.
Saturn, yeah, like went into Pisces where your sun literally is. And I think you have Mercury there too, or another planet. But yeah, Saturn going into Pisces, then it retrograded, I'm pretty sure in March. And then now it just went direct again like a few weeks ago. So there's new momentum.
Yeah. And
things coming to fruition. And Saturn is like tangible results.
Yes. And then just even paying it, just being more aware of it too allows me personally. And again, I share my personal little anecdotes with you, of course, because you're you, and also the listeners, because tapping into this shit personally for me has brought so much intention to so much more of what I'm doing. And just better all focus on a bigger reality for myself. And it's like you naturally, I feel like, can't not sort of help yourself up level when you're paying attention to spiritual shit like this.
That's why I'm so passionate about it. I know. I feel like everyone can benefit. It just, puts things in a perspective, eases anxiety.
It just sort of, you'll get, and then you'll be drinking the Kool-Aid like me, baby. and then you'll be like, and then you'll be at a bar like I was this past weekend. Met a gentleman, not even full, I don't even know how many full sentences out of his mouth before I went, you're giving Leo as fuck. I think we're my exact sort of tipsy little words.
Love it.
I said, you're giving absolutely Leo as fuck. And because I think it's something got brought up about astrology. I think that's what it was. And I was like, I can guess. and he was not bullshitting me, and he showed me his ID to like prove that I was right, because I was like, now you could just be saying that because you're trying to rile me up, and this will be a funny story to tell your friends that you're really actually a Virgo, and you just said I was a Leo to get me going. And he was I could tell on his Leo ass excited face. He couldn't hide his excitement in that moment, because I guessed it spot on. And then I didn't immediately guess his and he was like, out of the three of his little buddies, he was the little ring, he was just giving Leo, and I really just sort of guessed that, and I meant it respectfully.
I love that.
He was so fun. He bought me a drink later. My boyfriend was there, everything's fine. But yeah, it was just such a fun
that is so fun
moment, and I love those moments, and it always makes me like, yeah, you like that, you should listen to the podcast. And I think I got really close to I didn't guess his friends exactly, but I was like, whatever it is, I'm not sure exactly, but it's Earth, or like there was something that,
yes,
and it was really
your
funny,
Pisces intuition,
the elements, the energy, it matters. It's fun. I just do. I love this time of year. I love the rebirth of Scorpio, the fiery energy that's on the way. I'm revved up, Heather. I'm revved up.
I love it. Yeah.
I'm going direct, bitch.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So speaking of going direct and speaking of Saturn, I wanted to mention that I've been thinking a lot about Saturn and the fact that it's like the timekeeper. They say that Saturn's about timing and like, working long and hard at stuff. And sometimes it's like work that you don't even realize that you're doing, like mental health stuff that's just like happening, without your conscious awareness. And then 7 years later, you're like, wait, I'm not as anxious about that anymore. Or I'm just like, feel more mature around this issue. But this podcast I've been listening to, I was just listening to an episode with like a relationship expert, and he was talking about how there's something in humans that like after 7 years of being together, you get like the 7-year ick, or like most people cheat after like 7 years. And like, then they were also saying like, yeah, there's that whole thing where like after 7 years, you just like want to become a whole new person. And I'm like, so interesting, because some goals are 7 years, or like it's 28 years, but it's broken up into 7-year chunks. And yeah, I've really been thinking about how like wow, I've been in LA for almost 7 years. Now I'm like, do I still want to be in LA? I'm like, who am I? I feel like there is this like ego reorientation every 7 years that I haven't even been aware of until now. But I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, wow, I kind of have like shape shifted. And Saturn is right
Yeah.
next to my sun in the natal chart. So it might be a little bit more pronounced and people might be listening to this and be like, what the fuck? But I think there's
They don't
something
feel
to
it
it.
maybe that intensely at the same time, but everyone does have like their more intense moments and transformations in everyone's chart, right? Or like even like because everyone goes through a Saturn return,
Yeah.
but yet there's still like different points in your own chart where that might be a way more intense experience for you personally than someone else,
Yeah.
based on their chart, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I totally hear you, and that's so funny that you say that because the whole like sort of at like who am I and am I still this person that's sort of been my identity for the past maybe 7 years. It is like when we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording 7 years ago, when we were like in 8th grade entering high school. That was the first time I ever took a actual legitimate drama class.
14 years ago. But yes,
Oh,
totally.
I'm sorry. Yes.
No, but I'm with you.
And then I think 14 years before, or the 14 total years would have been what? I would have been 7, because it's like 7 and then 14 and now like 28.
Yeah, 7, 14, 21, 28.
Yeah. 7,
and it's always lasts like 2 years.
The 7 one, I'm like, that one's harder to remember. Could have been anything. For me, to me, it's not as dominant. But the second 7, or like my 14 years ago, as of this point right now, isn't as dominant for me. But I actually do want to sit with it and try to think of like really. That's just only because I'm having a hard time even remembering, like even what grade I was maybe in.
So when you were 14 or when you were
I was 7?
7. Oh, for
We're
me, that's when apparently they say psychologically when you turn around 7 years old, you become aware of like society. You become aware of like, you're not just like a kid with your family. You become like, you get what I'm saying? Like there's like a world we live in that operates. That's when I first started acting. Like that's when I was like, I want to be Britney Spears. But like I think that that's when kids start talking about like, I want to be this when I grow up. And like you're aware that there is a world and a society and
that you have to engage with and be a part of.
Yeah, and that you're working toward a profession and that you're gonna be like your parents one day and yada yada yada.
What grade were we in? Because we're the same age.
That's like kindergarten is 5 and 6, so first grade is 6 and 7. So you're like in second half of first grade, first half of second grade.
Oh my God, Heather, that was the year of 9/11.
Yeah.
And that was this is just so funny. We are going to get right back into these charts, folks. Don't worry. We haven't lost you yet, we hope. But as I'm having this moment, and I know a lot of listeners are around our age or, if not our exact same age. So hopefully this applies to you to think about this shit. Think about where you were 14 years ago. Think about where you were 7, sort of the cycles, because we see a lot of those similar themes. Hopefully not 9/11. But my point is, for me, I always mark 9/11 as the time I became essentially agnostic without knowing what that meant, without, labeling it that, because of the shit fucking education system of Florida and the old, probably Republican, never mind, let me ease up, but just older, I just remember teachers, the way 9/11 was explained to me was so fucking wrong and incorrect. And I won't get into all the details because I don't want to. But my whole point is I had a moment when I was being delivered a lot of this really horrific, wrong messaging at that age. The moment that really stood out to me was this idea that there's more than one religion. Like, I'm just gonna like leave it at that.
Right.
Like,
right.
But like that was just the first time I remember I questioned what I remember just really sticking out to me at that age, someone who could not grasp 9/11 and what was really going on, which is why as I process it and look back, I'm like, oh my God, thank God that information isn't what stuck. What really stuck to you was this idea that what the fuck do you guys mean there's more than one religion? Then how can mine just be that?
Yeah, that's
And
so
that was the first,
interesting.
which again, I am a Pisces, so I don't know and I'm an only child, so I think like I unfortunately was maybe just like profound for my age.
Existential.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would not say I'm profound now, and I'm not trying to say it's a flex. I just remember being really, I talk about this with my partner now, and he didn't have this moment until like his freshman year of high school,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
was much more heavily involved in religion in the traditional sense. I wasn't. I think it was maybe a lot easier also for the environment I was already in to be
Yeah.
able to ask those questions. I want to be very specific, but
But you
that it's just
Pisces.
right. The Pisces, I'm sure too, as we all know Jesus was, if we really
Right.
look at the books. But my whole point is that it's just so funny. I was sitting here a second ago, like, I don't really know what was going on at that time. I don't really think there was much that was profound for me. And then I'm like, wait a minute, that was the year of 9/11. And I always remember
Yeah.
that time as me being like, that's kind of when I fell off with traditional religion and didn't trust it. And it was real. I was hurt. I was like upset. I was upset that I was just sort of blindly following. Like, I remember just having the thought of, well, when I get older and understand this shit a little better, I want to make a decision on the religion I choose to follow. I remember being like, I thought I was following this because this just is,
Right.
and it just broadened my, like, kind of like you said,
Wow.
I think it made me so much more aware of society as a whole,
Yeah.
and more of like how we fit into it.
Man-made frameworks. Yeah.
And I was pissed. I was like, so you're telling me there's different religions, meaning there's different versions of this book we call the Bible, meaning
Right.
and then there's no fucking receipts as to which one's the verified edition. So
Yeah.
like I just remember even as a kid being like, that's what we're all fighting about. Or like kind of like, I don't
Yeah.
know, just being
Yeah.
like, how dare y'all just pass just this shit down my throat like it's
Right.
law.
Yeah.
And because up in that till that point I was like, it's the law. I don't know, you have
Yeah.
a warped,
No.
your son,
I
I don't
think I
know.
had that moment in like ninth
Whew.
grade. Yeah. It's
Right.
crazy.
Well, you were in Catholic school. It was a little more hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was, again, I went to public school. I went to a very non-denominational. I think my church was called just like Jacksonville Christian Church. Like, it was really chill vibes.
Yeah.
I opted into getting baptized. I also think right around that age. Maybe I was a little
Mm.
older. I think I was in 4th grade. So I still got baptized after that because I was so, just goes to show you, even that age, I was like, oh no, I never said I'm not about God. I just
Right.
find it ridiculous that we all just think we all have the correct version of this shit.
Yeah,
Like, I
it
just remember
really
being
is.
baffled as a little kid. Like, y'all are supposed to be adults
Mm-hmm.
and you're just blindly eating. They haven't even taught me about citing my quote or citing my sources yet. Like, they haven't even told me about MLA format, and yet I can still point to this and be like,
Yeah.
are y'all serious?
I
Anyway,
know.
before I get too into it.
No,
And
that's
with
really
that, I'm still
interesting.
I still consider myself a religious bitch, just not in
Yeah.
the, okay, I went on way too long about that. But it just goes to show that I was sitting here a second ago, like, yeah, no, I don't know if anything happened at age 7.
Yeah, and I bet if you thought about it more, you'd be able to like pinpoint more things, but it's so long
Exactly.
ago.
It's such a fun thing to think about. Because we've talked about this too before, right, Heather, with like there's kind of themes. You'll recognize maybe themes you're dealing with now, you've dealt with before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with that, now that
Yeah.
I've gone on way too long, I'm having
No, never.
my ginger root tea
Yeah,
to
yeah.
to coat my sore throat here. Apologies to the folks. And no, I'm not sick, Alex. She'll know what that means.
I'm dying.
Heather, shall we plunge in to a couple of phoenixes themselves with these Scorpio birth charts?
Yes, two very, very powerful Scorpio individuals.
Both of these people are, I mean, I know I feel like I say this about everyone, but I could not be clearer when I say that both of these Scorpios are Scorpio AF to the max.
With secrets and grudges and power. Yeah.
Yes. And with that, welcome to the stage, Drake.
Didn't everyone
Drake.
boo him at a Pitchfork festival? I read an article. It was Drake. I read an article that like there was I want to say it was like the Pitchfork festival. I'm probably wrong. It was maybe it was Oh God, why am I even talking right now?
No, please. I need a
No,
break.
who's the rapper who is we were just talking about him. He's a Pisces rapper, friends with Frank Ocean.
Tyler the Creator?
Tyler the Creator. I think Tyler the Creator had a festival that he curated, and it was a surprise headliner, and everyone thought it was going to be Frank Ocean, and a lot of the people showed up hoping to see Frank Ocean
Oh, I feel like I
headline.
remember
And then he was like,
this.
let's bring out a surprise headliner, and it was Drake, and everyone booed, and they were like, where's Frank? Where's Frank?
Oh God, that poor Scorpio baby.
No, I'm sure he took that so hard.
He was
With
definitely
the
offended.
Cancer moon.
He
I don't
was
want
definitely offended. No, it is just like, this is the thing. It's Drake is such a fun. I'm kind of shocked we haven't done him already.
I know.
Well, first of all, I think God, I really, on a personal level, I used to love Drake. I was obsessed. Like college when we were in senior year. I think it was when like if you're reading this, it's too late. That album came out. It was like really popular. And just like it was ruling over my college everything.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I want to point out by saying that. But since the I don't know, the Millie Bobby Brown stuff, the him kind of being quiet about having a kid, and then Pusha T like outing him with the Pusha T actually outed him with the rap. If all this is above folks' heads, I won't explain it because I've already overdone my talking as I continue to talk. But there's just a lot of like drama that kind of really made me disappointed in Drake as a fan. And I am interested though to see how he grows, to see how he continues to evolve. Again, like a Scorpio. I think he has some lessons to learn. And also, I can't imagine having to learn my lessons in real time, super famous and in front of an audience. And to have fellow humans who are also learning lessons, but having the safety and the comfort of knowing they don't have to go through that shit. But just this like sort of attitude of like, well, famous people deserve it. They're not real humans, you know. Just saying, I can't speak to that, but I kind of can imagine it. And I still am like, God, yeah, I can't imagine what that's like for someone. So want to be clear. Yeah. And with that, the Drake is so fun to cover because he's the first to fucking be like, I'm a Scorpio. Like that is just his brand. That
is it one of his recent
thing.
albums called Scorpion?
Yes.
Yeah.
It sure is. And Drake himself always like a lot of his personal dark demons. You know, he talks about how it affected him that his father was kind of a deadbeat, as he was raised by a single mother who is, you know, his world. His father is someone who's recently more back into his life. And it's kind of like a lot of fans comment and talk shit about like his dad came back into his life because Drake like has money now. But because Drake is so water based, I don't think he's weak. Yeah. I think I'm not in someone's position where I had a dad who kind of bailed and then wanted, you know, forgiveness or back in my life, regardless of what that feels like because I have money now or yada, yada. Like, to me, that is so water. The fact that we all know his personal business from him, like in terms of that's how his music is, you know, shared with his fans in the world. And the fact that he really embraces being like emotional, those are all my favorite like parts of his Scorpio ass self. The Millie Bobby Brown thing was kind of weird. Like, I don't really know if there were ever kind of consequences for that. You know what I'm talking about, Heather?
Yeah, I
like,
do. That he was friends. Like texting her. Yeah.
Well, in the whole conversation, I just do think amongst like older celebrities who are trying to sort of big brother or big sister younger ones. I'm just glad we're talking about that now. And regardless of, I don't know how good an older celebrity's intentions are, I think the fact that our society was like paying attention to that is good. However, I want to say I don't think it's affected him having a son thing. This is where I do think he's very secretive when he wants to be, right? This is something that I think Drake is someone that's got to be so nice for a Scorpio who is very secretive, unless it's on his terms. It's like he is actually, as far as Scorpios go, he shares a lot, but there's power in the way that it's like through his words, through his music. Like, he's going to share and get vulnerable and emotional, but he's going to make a lot of money off of it,
The
right?
Leo rising needs to express,
Right.
needs to,
yeah. Right. And this is where I think Drake got a lot of into some trouble too a few years ago when, you know, it came out that he had a kid. Not that anyone would give a fuck that Drake had a kid. It was the fact that he kind of tried
came
to
out
be
of
really
nowhere.
secretive about it. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and was only going to in a very Drake way, which is how, you know, his music and how his whole kind of persona is carried. And I do think there's a lot of like protecting yourself as a celebrity. A famous Scorpio as famous as him, who is also like famous on putting like their vulnerability in their songs and their emotions in their songs. There's got to probably be so much extra loaded protection that you want for yourself, and a lot of things out of your control, that I don't know. That's just, I kind of, not to be like poor Drake by any means, but it is just so interesting. I think I'm shocked at myself how I think that's why I had such a huge fascination and I was really drawn to Drake, is because I was like, he's an emotional bitch like me,
Yeah.
but he could
Yeah.
still put out a banger. And like,
Mm-hmm.
it's so Scorpio to me to like be throwing ass while crying. Like that to me is Drake. And yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
is just so to wrap this up, the whole his son, he was going to announce to the world that he did have a son, but the whole plan was to do it through an Adidas press release. Yeah. So it was like, again, Drake was going to
Very
share that information like
calculated
on his term.
in a way to like also do a business deal. Yeah.
A little bit. Is that not kind of like, again, Scorpio's like, I'm gonna go to the depths, but it's gonna be worth my fucking time. I don't know. Yeah, that's when the reason the world found out about it is because Pusha T found out about it somehow. The rumor is Kanye told him, and Kanye and Drake were beefing. And that's when Pusha T released a diss that is called like The Story of Adidon, which I believe is the name of Drake's kid. And it outs that he was going to do this. It was like a
Whoa.
scathing diss. All because Drake did Duppy Freestyle, which was a diss track about Pusha T in response to Pusha T claiming he ghost writes on the album Daytona. Pusha T accused Drake of
Right.
kind of like tongue in cheek points at, like, if you ever talk about ghostwriting, when rappers are usually talking about ghostwriting, it's like it's usually to diss Drake because of the
Yeah.
shit he got. So I do feel like it is so funny because in that Scorpio way too, I think Drake loves the drama. Let's be honest. Like that is
Yeah.
sort of a part, like, and being a little mischievous, being a little on the dark side, and still being
Uh-huh.
like, but y'all love me. You know, that's so Scorpio.
Right.
Be
Yeah,
like,
it is.
but y'all love me because I embrace the dark. You know, like that to
Uh-huh.
me is so Scorpio. It's kind of funny.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyways, with that, he's Scorpio sun, Cancer moon, and then Leo rising. So he's got no hope. No, I'm just kidding. But like, yeah, he's gonna be writing about the shit that makes him cry. And there's a lot,
Uh-huh.
and there's gonna be a lot to write
There's
from.
gonna be a lot. Yeah, yeah. It's cool what you said about being raised by his mom and his mom being such a pivotal person in his life, because Cancer moon, you know,
Right. The mother.
Cancer is all about the mother. Already wherever your moon is shows where you have like an emotional imprint psychologically. So having the moon in Cancer would suggest that the mom is very important. But yeah, then there's Sun in Scorpio. Oh shit. Wait.
Oh, and
Okay.
something you mentioned too, really quick, Heather. Before, not to get ahead of ourselves, but the two charts we're covering today, you said you were surprised that they weren't more top heavy, without spoiling the
Yeah.
next one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
can you explain for me again and the listeners what you mean by that and why?
Yeah.
Sorry, not to put
Yeah.
you on the
Yeah.
spot.
So like you know, the houses correlate with the signs. And just like we were talking about how there's personal signs, interpersonal signs, and transpersonal signs, you know, it's sort of, you start with like personal identity and then you learn about yourself through relationships with others. And then it's a little bit more global and public. So usually most celebrities, I would say, have a bunch of planets on the top half because those are the public houses. But Drake is very bottom heavy. It's really just the
Interesting.
moon in Cancer that's in the 11th, and it does connect with these other planets in powerful ways. Like there's an opposition to Neptune in the 5th house of self-expression, and so like that helps. But yeah, that is a little surprising, but there's a lot in the 3rd house of communication. So Scorpio falls in the 3rd house. I see this for a lot of rappers. Like a lot of them will have a lot of Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra, like air sign placements, because I think rap very much is like a way to communicate. And yeah, I think but it's cool that even though Drake has all these planets in Scorpio, it falls in the 3rd house. So maybe he doesn't have a ghostwriter. Maybe he actually is very good with his words. But Sun is conjunct Pluto, Scorpio's ruling planet, which is like one of the trickiest placements I think you could possibly have in a natal chart, because not only are you a Scorpio sun, but you have Pluto right next to your sun. You are like extra Scorpio. Plus Venus and Mercury, 2 personal planets, are in Scorpio, plus, you know, the water moon. And then Saturn's in the 4th house of family, so maybe some restriction when it comes to family, as we were saying, and all of that. But yeah,
he's such a fascinating being. Drake is so fucking lovable. Like he does exude warmth, but my whole like this is why I was kind of hurt and disappointed with him as a fan, because regardless, I don't know if they ever proved the ghostwriting, and even if that, like,
yeah,
I think part of me was like, I'm a fan of Kanye, or like part of me, that was when I was learning like, oh, like this isn't, because like at that point I was like, you know, I love pop music, most of them bitches don't write their own shit, and so
right.
But then learning the world of like, you know, that's very, very frowned upon in the world of hip hop and specifically rapping. But like, I still think Drake is a very good rapper, regardless of those allegations. I just can't imagine a world where he's not writing majority of his shit.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't see that, and I think he's really talented at what he does and like the brand he's kind of created for himself. But that's just it. Like, I think it was really disappointing for a lot of fans when that happened, because a lot of the things he like discusses in his own music is like being raised by a deadbeat father, and it was like he was really, I think the issue before he accepted for himself that he was the father of this child, he like was denying the allegations for a long time, and I think there were multiple paternity tests made and stuff. Like, it wasn't his best look. And I, again, though, these celebrities, sometimes I think they get frozen. Again, I'm not trying to give excuses for anyone, but I do think it's really, he just is like, I do think his music is him. I'm not trying to say I think that's what upset a lot of people at the time. It was like, oh, you're not who we thought you were. And now, as I'm older and have more perspective, first of all, I'm just like, well, that's just it. We never really know celebrities. Complete side note. But also,
yeah,
I think Scorpio can have so many depths to it that you can't see. So many like, and I do think a lot of people were like, he's self-aware about his issues. And then that's one of the lines in Pusha T's rap, actually, is like, he calls him a deadbeat father. Like the same thing you grew up hating. You know, that's like Pusha, and that's just it too. This is such a scathing diss, because if you're really trying to battle Drake, you kind of know exactly where to cut, because he's very vulnerable about what's deep and dark for him and hard for him. And anyways, I do believe he's a very fascinating being. It's also really, it's always just fun, again, when a darker energy, or like someone who's in their feels, so to speak, is in his feelings, shares that instead of shy away from it. And he's obviously been very rewarded in that. And I think Drake has a lot, like a phoenix from the ashes. One of my other favorite lines he says too is like, I had someone tell me I fell off. Ooh, I needed that. And I'm like, that's so Scorpio.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fire of like, oh, y'all think I fell off, you know? So I feel like I talked a lot of shit about Drake, and I want to be clear that I think there's always room for growth. And I think he is so Scorpio in a way that he can't not be a phoenix and like shed out of a lot of past mistakes he's made and grow into a very respectable artist still. He's respected and beloved. But like, It's hard. It was hard for me there for a minute. I was disappointed with him on a few levels, but finding out more
Humans
about
are
his chart has made me
complicated.
like, Drake's got deep depths. Even he's probably can't breach all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Fascinating being Drake.
Mm-hmm.
Come on the pod. Wait, Heather, I'm sorry. Was there anything more you wanted to add about his chart specifically?
Not really. There's a grand trine with Jupiter, the moon, and Pluto. That'll help you catapult to fame. Yeah. But
Well, because he did Degrassi before.
right.
That's always like the funny, like, poor Drake. He's so Scorpio, but so easily to make fun of sometimes.
I know.
All the celebrities take a hit with that one. But like,
Oh,
Degrassi is so funny when I feel like we really love to forget that. A lot of people don't, but
yeah.
it is so
Yeah.
funny to think that like he was already kind of doing the fucking thing and then completely pivoted careers. And then not only that, but then was very successful in it. Not to say he wasn't also successful. He was a star on Degrassi. That wasn't nothing. And now he's like Drake. And
Yeah.
it's always really impressive to see like someone in that realm like also be really successful in another creative one at that level too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The
Totally.
depths
I
with
know.
that one.
Yeah.
And on to the next, Heather.
Yes.
I'm very excited about this next Scorpio. She fascinates me. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know. You texted me that earlier.
I'm
Yeah,
so
she
excited.
is fascinating. I watched like a 20-minute YouTube biography video before this. And I'm still like, what is her deal, you secretive person? Hillary Clinton.
Talk about a bitch no one really knows. Sorry, say it
Yeah.
again, Heather. I talked through that.
No. I am covering the powerful Scorpio, Hillary Clinton. Who
So powerful.
yeah, who
Who should have been president and during a time, but also kind of was president during Bill's reign. When we think about it, that's the Scorpio power. That's how I love looking at Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
That I was like, bitch, you already kind of were, which sucks because like she never got the title and the role, but like you're telling me she wasn't the brains of that operation.
I know.
Please.
Come on.
Come on.
Yeah. And I guess when she was running against Barack, obviously Barack won, but he made her his Secretary of State. And then she ran again because that Scorpio determination and drive. But yeah, so Hillary, we'll get into it. Hillary's a Scorpio sun, Pisces moon, Gemini rising. And I remember
holy shit.
Yeah, like I remember when she was running, looking at the astrology and being like, God, I can't imagine being a double water sign. I can't imagine being a president and a Pisces moon. Like that, just being in politics and being a Pisces moon must be hard as fuck. Like,
but the thing is, I'm not defending that, Heather. I 100% agree with you. That as a Pisces myself, not to make it all about me, I just had this thought the other day where I was like, the emotion for like a Pisces to be in a place of politics or even like super famous, but mainly the politics, it's like the emotion behind that. Oh my God, and the weight, but it's also like,
who better would you want?
Who else is going to be that passionate about and caught up in the emotion of and to want to fight for that shit? And then so it is really, that is an interesting way to, but I agree with you. But like it is, I'm kind of like, I think Pisces are drawn to it a lot because, Jesus. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. No, honestly, I mean, I think they would be the best leaders, but it's
but we can't
hard on the emotions, especially in this cutthroat, American society we live in. But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So I was watching this biography video. I'm not an expert on Hillary Clinton. I'm not an expert on politics, but the way this video narrated things, it seemed like she, especially when she was running for president, really has like a a tough exterior in a way. Like, she knows that she is in a male dominated, industry here. And I think that, and she's a Scorpio. I think she understood that she needs to be tough. Otherwise, people would be like, oh, you're an emotional woman. You're not fit to be a leader. But at the same time, I think that if she showed a little bit more of her vulnerability and her emotions, it would have helped. Like, there was this one moment in this video where I guess she was running for president and she was like in New Hampshire, doing whatever the word is, campaigning. And there was a moment where she like kind of started to cry and she was talking to people and she was like, no, I just I had this experience in America. Like, this country's done great things for me and I want to help continue that. And she like kind of cried. And then I guess she like won the New Hampshire vote. And the narrator of this video was like, I think that it was her vulnerability that helped.
That's like the meanest thing for Hillary too, is that like men always looked at her as like she's too feminine, and then men hated her because she was too feminine in a male dominated fucking fucked up place, and then women hated her because she was too male for like and what was more masculine energy in a sense. And I think like she had a disconnect there, and I blame her environment. I blame the world she grew up in and who she did have to be at her time in order to get in her spot, because it's like the shit Hillary gets, it's like it's comical to me how hard the hammer comes down on her, because I'm like, that shit, it should be directly at society and what we did to Hillary and the world we created so that she couldn't succeed. And one quick thing I will add to this too, Heather, is that this idea that the masculine energy is so afraid of the feminine energy, or this idea that if the roles were reversed, right, if from the dawn of time women were just in control, there's this idea that all the same issues would be as they are, it would just be reversed and men would be in the issue. And it's like, that's quite literally not how the feminine energy works. It is quite literally not like that. It would not be a power trip. And I'm fortunate, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think Hillary's intentions are there. It's the world she lives in and entered, and how masculine the energy is for it, how power and dominating it is. I think she just could have thrived in a different type of energy if we were a completely different type of society, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
She's ahead of her time, because like there's a whole study that's not how the feminine energy works, that the world is more of like, it would be very nurturing. It would be mother at the top. It would be a monarchy. And what that looks like in terms of like feminine language, feminine history, just all of it, it's completely different from like if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm doing this I'm articulating this correctly, but I think they beat that out of Hillary, and that's kind of all we wanted from her when she did run. It's interesting, but I don't blame
it's
her.
a shame. It's sad. I don't blame her either. Yeah. I totally agree. I'm with you.
I mean, it's got to be a male's fucking world when your husband cheats on you and you're still the one in trouble for it. Get the fuck out of my face. Like, that language was not being discussed during her time the way that would be appalling today. That she got any blame by other women. I remember living in the South and women speaking on it, like Hillary Clinton can't keep her marriage together. I remember that was like always the dialogue in the language. And I remember just like growing up and being fucking livid. And if I were her, I would just give this country the bird. And she fucking wanted to change it for the better again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That is so water. Go ahead, Heather. Jesus.
It is. I know.
I love her.
I know. I do
Better
too.
pantsuits. Just kidding.
Yeah. No, I was really thinking about it today when I was doing research on her. Like, the fact that she was top of her class at her university, the first person at her school to give a commencement
She's
speech.
Wicked smart.
And and became a lawyer. Yeah. And like was a badass in the world of politics in her own right. Married Bill Clinton. He,
Dead
obviously Yeah. No, but he obviously
like,
became
kinda.
president. And then I think, according to this biography I was watching, she kind of like while he was campaigning for president and she was his wife, she was kind of taking the mic at times and stating her own opinions and, showing her own prowess in this realm. And people didn't like that, so then she became more like, oh, I'm the wife. She kind of had to like dim her light to be what people wanted them to be. And just like imagine being her Scorpio self who has all the knowledge and right to be a leader, and then to be like in your husband's shadow, and then to have him cheat, and then to feel like I just imagine there was like a conversation between the two of them, like after that all went down, where she was like, okay, I've been dimming my own Scorpio power for far too long. Now I'm running for president, bitch. And like, it's my turn, and you're going to have to be in the sidelines and do whatever I say.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I just fully agree with you. I think that is exact. And then we failed her.
I know. It's sad. It's sad. But this chart, man. So Scorpio sun, also Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter in Scorpio, all in the 6th house of work, the grind, Virgo, perfectionist, but a hard worker. And then Moon in Pisces in the 11th house, very idealistic, very about the people. That's where your sun is, your Pisces sun in the 11th. You really care about the community, the world at large, enhancing humanity.
Except for my fucking haters. Just kidding.
Well, yeah, I mean, same with Hillary, I'm sure. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, but then Mars, the same degree as Pluto in Leo, opposite the midheaven, is fucking passionate. That is like drive beyond drive to have Mars and Pluto, which Mars, they say, is like the co-ruler of Scorpio. Pluto's the ruler, but before Pluto came along, it was Mars. So to have both of those planets in Leo, opposite the midheaven, that is like, to me, what made her be like, I can do this. And then Gemini rising is a very nice rising sign to have with all this water, I think, and to be able to communicate and articulate herself. And but yeah, it's very
unlike
again,
her
bottom heavy.
Like, she's just been, well, this is the last thing I'll say about it, but like, I do want to point out, I feel like people love to forget this. We love to forget that Hillary Clinton won that fucking election, that the popular vote which is majority vote, which just, we've learned this time and time and again. The only reason, say what you want about politics, literally the science is there. The only reason the Republican Party still exists is because of the fucking fucked up electoral college, right? Like, I feel like people really forget that Hillary Clinton won the election in terms of majority of Americans who voted for her.
Right.
And God, to be what she's been through as a Scorpio, the phoenix rising from the ashes that she is, to also genuinely give a fuck with her Pisces placements, just to be fucked over by the electoral college, which in the end was created by a man.
Right.
Just like, my blood boils for this woman.
I know.
She's gonna have such a good afterlife.
Oh yeah, and a good second life.
She's gonna she's
whatever,
just gonna be
reincarnation.
Yeah,
if you believe in that.
She's gonna just be on thrones upon thrones of gold. Anyway,
I think so. Yeah. I mean, yeah, damn. But then, oh yeah, Saturn in the 4th, restrictive home life, just like Drake. But
I want to say, I do remember watching a documentary. I don't know if we watched the same one, Heather, but yeah, I always remembered her being smart. I always remembered, I feel like from the beginning, that's exactly it. That she was like told to pipe back or pipe down, stand back and play the wife role, because it was always her who should have been it. And and even I think Bill was like the first person to be like, it should have been Hillary. Like Hillary really should have been president. And
I'm sure Bill's a
she did,
Leo, by the way. He's just good at being in the spotlight. Anyway.
Right. And this was a different time, and she was like not respected and ahead of her time. But then that's why I'm like, you best believe for the public eye, Hillary Clinton took a step back, but was not quiet behind those doors with Bill.
Oh,
like,
yeah. And
I love it.
Don't they say House of Cards is kind of
based off them? Yeah.
It makes sense.
Which does. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, she's a force. This chart is a force. And
she's a cool Scorp.
Very, very. And what else can I say? It's interesting. Jupiter is in Sagittarius near the 7th house, but not quite in the 7th house, if I'm correct. But that would be interesting because it would show that she like benefited from her relationship. But did she? I mean, she didn't. But
yeah, I'm like, we'll get into it another time.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I keep going with how angry I am
I know. But I love Hillary. This is a strong chart, and I agree with what you said. I think her reincarnation is gonna be.
And she's not done. She still has
not done.
Plenty to do in this lifetime. Don't get me wrong, but I'm also just like, there's like a parallel universe where
it's sad.
We let her down. That was a bigger. That's why she'll be rewarded in the afterlife.
Yeah.
She's just ahead of her time, truly. Like, and it's a beautiful way to look at it. And when we think about, it takes people being ahead of their time, so often and then once you're really a little more in that time, you understand how much they paved the way. So like, it's still all the, like, I mean, again, her relationship with Bill, I think, still allowed her to be such an influence to so many women, to influence so many women, and for women to want to chase a career in politics, to feel safer in a world of politics. Like, there is still like, and again, without, Bill and him being president, there is kind of a world where we wouldn't know Hillary Clinton, and I'm happy we live in a world where we do, despite the fact that it's because of Bill that she got there. Yes, Heather?
I hate to this is maybe kind of negative, but I meant to talk about it and I forgot. But one major point in this video I was watching, and if you followed her election, the whole thing with her like hiding these emails or something is so it's so annoying that people made that such a big thing and a reason to like put her down. But I also have to acknowledge how Scorpio that is, that she like refused to be open about something. Like, she could have just, it's like her
porn
secrets
in there or
that
something. Like, you want to know what the like real reality is? Is like, she probably like was like, they can't see that I made a Target order for tampons. They're gonna call me weak. I don't know. I'm sure it really was some
a guilty
like
pleasure. Yeah, totally.
As long as it's yeah, we'll see. I'm like, that might come out later.
I know. In which case, yeah. But so Scorpio
like that is like literally anything Bill's ever done.
I know. But it's interesting that this idea of secrets really is like a big thing in that family, Scorpio, and all her Scorpio. It's interesting.
The hidden, Hillary, God bless you. God bless you, one and all. Heather. Fun Scorpio charts we had. Shall we let the folks know what the heck's going on with the Scorpio season finale before we plunge in, before we point our arrows north into Sag?
Indeed, I shall. So, this week, astrologers are very excited about Friday and Saturday, November 17th and 18th. And it's because once a year, the sun and Mars come together. And is it once a year?
Alex?
Maybe not, actually. But anyway, it's rare that I want to say it's once a year where they connect like by the same degree, even maybe less than that. But and the fact that it's happening in Scorpio, because Scorpio already has this Mars masculine drive principle tint to it, is really cool. And so also at the same time, Moon is conjunct Pluto, Scorpio's ruling planet, in Capricorn, and that forms a sextile to Neptune. And that's all sounds very complicated. But basically, there's a lot of watery stuff happening combined with like a masculine drive energy. So they're saying it's like, you know, you can have a really strong intuition and emotion about something and then have the energy to go after something or set your mind to something and achieve it. It could be very inspiring, but also based on emotions and intuition.
Love that.
And yeah, and then on November 22nd, the sun enters Sagittarius, which is next Wednesday, which I'm very excited about. Although Scorpio has been very fun, Sagittarius is arguably the most fun sign of the zodiac. So
And it's like, you know, it's the class party at the end of the year.
It's party. Yeah, party
before
time.
you come into a like it's and everyone's like, I'll see you next year or whatever, you know, like because you always like I feel like we always like school would always be ending or you'd go on winter break in Sag, even though you know Christmas is Cap. Right. It's like winter break was so Sag.
Yeah.
Like the start of winter break was always during Sag. And
yeah, it's all about
like
gratitude. We have Thanksgiving, which is all about, you know, giving thanks. But then at the same time, I think there is a sort of like looking back on the year and what you've achieved and feeling gratitude. And yeah,
and
it's
just
exciting.
Celebrating it. It's really been such a loaded time. It's been a very energetically charged time. We've been talking about this, the fact that a lot of shit's coming to a head in this big Scorpio time, or our generation is a big Scorpio generation. Yeah, the overall Phoenix themes have been really fun. I've been having a lot of fun with it, and it's just been a nice sort of anchor during the Scorpio. It's like honestly made me embrace a lot of the darkness within myself within this season, like we talked about, just like not being afraid of the ebbs and flows, simply riding them.
Yeah.
It's okay, baby. Sorry.
Yeah, it is.
Hold on.
Is.
Buckle up.
Yep.
With every low comes a new high. And the high just feels so much better when you've been through that low.
And why waste the high by worrying about the low? You gotta
the low is inevitable. Both. Just enjoy both of them while you got them. Oh my God. They're both so important and necessary. It's all right.
Not happy and sad at the same time. Casey Musgraves, happy, then sad.
Yes, then happy again.
Then happy again, then
and
sad
because
again.
of that, eternal peace.
Yeah.
I love this time. I love it. Folks, we will see you right back here next week for Sagittarius season. Right? Yeah. We said this. Yeah. We just said this.
A lot of celebrity Sages as well.
Oh God, the drama. I can't. We love you, listeners.
Love you.
Love you, Heather.
Love you so much.
So much abundance to be grateful for, folks. Infinite abundance to you and yours. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.